Alright, just doing a reality check response video to the rhetoric of the modern mystic this week, which was all, Republican, Tory focused. Just kind of really cliche, simplistic, a flat out denial of, or a contradiction with statements of his in the past where he has realized that this is a problem that's been building over decades, if not centuries, of economic policy. And now he's basically focusing in on the last 2 or 3 years and how government reacted to the problem, and somehow the reaction to the problem is now the problem, which is a big, fat, stupid joke. So his last video, he did this whole this crap on the whole Labour Party in Britain and their I would agree, stupid policy of printing money, to prop up a fake economy. And yeah, it's stupid, but the alternative we know we get from the Tory government is, yes, let's cut expenditures by government, like that'll somehow fix the problem. Like if you don't print the money and you just cut expenditures, that somehow this all goes away. And it doesn't. It doesn't even come close to going away. And the exact opposite happens. You start paying. You start really paying for the problem. You start revealing the problem, and the whole thing goes down. This thing can't go down a little tiny bit. There's either you're going to acknowledge the problem, and government takes full responsibility and says, look, we've got a big giant problem. We've got a $20 trillion unresolvable problem, and so yeah, we're going to have to somehow figure out how to liquidate $20 trillion worth of debt, future IOUs on future productivity that can't exist in the realistic economy. Because what we've basically done is we've sold, like American labor has sold its future as if it had the same earning power it had in 1970. And it doesn't have that earning power, because now we live in this stupid world economy, and it has the earning power of a Chinaman now. That's the future. And so there's, instead of mortgaging 40 years of their work, it's 80 years of their work, or 150 years of their work. It's a completely unrealistic mortgage. It's a mortgage that can't be paid. And so now the question is just who pays for this mess? Who pays for the bad debt? It's like, I don't know, it's like an indiscretion in a marriage, let's say an affair. Who's responsible, the seductive woman or the easily seduced man? And who should we whip the hardest, or who should we, castrate? Who has to pay for this shit? And, by Nick's philosophy, the borrower the lender can do no wrong, and the borrower can do no right. So all the people who bought a house with the expectation that it was going to retain its value, at least, if not get more valuable, somehow committed a crime. They're guilty. They should be squashed like a bug. And the greedy, maniacal assholes, who always been making profits for the whole existence of civilized humanity, who've been gleaning money off of their money, and exploiting people who need houses, who need health care, who need anything. The sharks, the loan sharks. We should all give them a party and pat them on the hiney and say, here, we'll just give you a big pile of government money to make up for those losses that asshole can't pay. But of course we'll put him into involuntary servitude. We'll put chains around his neck and try to whip the productivity out of him. But we're just not going to be able to get it out of him. It's just unrealistic. Because if we try to get what he owes out of him, he'll die. That's simple. He can't compete with a Chinese guy. Okay, the Chinese guys live in a putrid existence that no rational human would want to live, and it's going to be really hard to beat that out of a civilized human being. Anyway, but like I said, this is the whole week of videos, just no recognition that there's two parts to the deficit equation. It's not just about how much you spend. It's about how much you tax. And obviously he thinks how much we're taxing is the right amount because he doesn't make one friggin' statement saying they have to increase revenues. Not one fucking statement in a week's worth of videos saying, well, they could have increased revenues to solve the problem. But they didn't do that. Instead, they decreased revenues. We went from tax and spend to borrow and spend. And that was Tory policy. I won't do my Margaret Thatcher imitation, but come on. She sold her people to the Chinese. That's what she did, flat out. And Major and the rest of those fuckers, they didn't give a damn about the British people. They gave a damn about the British elite and the owners. And they sold out the British people. And now they have this expectation that the British people should somehow resign to their plight and become slaves to the rich. And hopefully they won't be that stupid. I don't know Gordon Brown from the other twat that was in there. I mean, Labour Party, like the Democratic Party here, doesn't seem to be able to put a candidate up for election that's worth a damn. So they get shit for policy. They get huge, giant compromise. I mean, it's just ironic that people call Obama a socialist and a liberal and all this crap when he's sitting there giving trillions of dollars to the richest fuckers on earth. I mean, what a fucking joke. So let's also understand where this policy goes. I mean, Nick's going to make some silly argument that somehow the government's giving more money to the infrastructure of the company. He's paying for more health care, and he's paying for more this, and he's paying for more that. No, the liability is completely in the cost of propping up the stock market. All right, because they can't afford to allow the stock market to drop because there's too many people whose finances are completely interwoven into the value of that market. And the government has taken on, by one guy's estimate who works in the government and does these books, there's $30 trillion of potential liabilities. I think the realistic number is probably 10 or 12, but regardless, okay, the fact is if the stock market loses half its value, the government's going to be on the hook for $12 trillion. This isn't going to go to health care. It isn't going to go to anything that any common human being is going to use. It's going to go directly to stockholders, directly to people bailing out stock market bets. That's where all that money would go. Okay, this whole Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and all this government bailouts, they aren't bailing out the people here. They're bailing out the investors. So they have to keep the stock market up, and they have to hope they can get real estate prices to stay high enough where they can actually sell off the crap they own. And it is just that, crap. And they have really no hope. They've guaranteed the investors their money. The investors want their money back. If there's ever a call, see, the point is if the stock market goes down, everybody's going to start making calls on what they have. And so people who own this Freddie Mac crap and this Fannie Mae crap are going to say, I want the real cash now, okay? And the government's going to have to give them the real cash. And the government's not going to have any of that cash because it can't make any money on the real estate it owns. So it can't, in any way, there's no possible way it can pay people cash for that crap stock. So we're talking trillions of fucking dollars going to the richest fuckers on the planet. So again, I'm going to re-articulate the point here. What has happened over the last 50 years is the rich have gotten preposterously richer. And they did that through tax policy that basically taxed workers more than investors. And Nick wouldn't know anything about this because he's never had an obligation to a country. He spent his working life being an independent nation, so he never had to finance the infrastructure of a country. He just lived off of it. A typical capitalist pig. And he has no remorse over that, of course. Well, anyway, no point in getting personal. But what's happened to us all now? I mean, we're all becoming scabs. I mean, I'm essentially a scab now. I'm ending up undercutting other people's labor because I'm willing to do more work for less money to survive. And that's the economy we're heading for. We're going to start cutting each other's fucking throats. That's going to be the only alternative. We're not going to have any fucking choice but to do that to each other. And that's the economy these motherfuckers have imposed upon us. And yeah, we're not going to get rational enough to overthrow the tyrants, the pigs, the kings, the nobles. And it's just unfortunate that things are going to get really horrible, because we're going to do all this. We're going to sacrifice human civilization. We're going to sacrifice the comfort of the vast majority of the human race to satisfy the claims on ownership of a tiny percentage of the human race, 3%, 5% at the outside most. But we're talking about a tiny percent of the human race who are going to break this entire economy because we're going to be forced to honor their stupid IOUs, their stupid deeds to our lives, their deeds to our future. It's just disgusting. But anyway, the whole point is Nick's full of crap and blaming labor for the problem. And that's essentially what he's done in his last few videos, which are a pile of shit.